Hey, this is alrosser. This is my, inaugural premiere, initial pilot podcast episode where I intend to talk about real estate, business, mentorship, and just life in general. Just a little bit about me. I am an associate real estate broker, been licensed since 2001. I teach real estate part-time since 2010. I mentor agents, chairman of the board of the Greater Cincinnati Realtist Association, 5 kids, 5 grandkids, mostly a Cincinnati native since I was 12. And, we just going to talk about a lot of different topics. Today, I have my brother here, Mr. DaVan Gassett, who we've worked together for many years now through the Greater Cincinnati Realtist Association and just friends and brothers in general. And we're going to get into that relationship and talk about this history and what this brother is doing and growing the real estate community here in Cincinnati. So welcome, DaVan.
Hey,
appreciate you being here.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So if you wouldn't mind, just, talk a little bit about who you are and what you do.
So I'm DaVan Gassett. Been licensed since 2012. Wore many hats as far as positions within. Been doing real estate. Love it. I love the fact that it helps communities. It helps build a generational wealth within our communities. So I'm just excited to be here today, and thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So DaVan and I already knew each other just from the business. And were you in one of my classes when you took your courses?
I do believe so.
Yeah.
Hondros.
Yeah. So, because you said you were licensed in 2012, I started teaching in 2010. So, who knows? It's hard for me to remember.
Yeah, but, like so long ago.
It was a long time ago. Yeah, you old. So, I'm older, so I can't talk too much.
Oh, good. Big rep.
But we really connected when you became president of the Greater Cincinnati Realtist Association back in 2020. And in late 2019, you reached out to me. And I'm a past president from 07 and 08 and hadn't really been involved much. But you called me to say, hey, I'm becoming president. I need a chairman of the board. And, I would like you to get involved. And I appreciate that call. I really do, considering me for that. And that's kind of where this, relationship really blossomed. And we did some great things, right, together. When we got together and I agree, we met, right, and talked. And I said, well, I got to see, right, if this is going to work and make sense. And so it did. And we started out in 2020. We probably had, I think it was 26 members, right?
Yeah. Yep.
And just a handful of dollars in the bank, right? Literally, right? Literally. I'm not exaggerating, y'all. So, right? And from that point, we really pulled some things together in the organization with the rest of the team. Mm-hmm. I don't want to act like it was just us. There's a whole, board of folks who had the same mission, rowing in the same direction. And to this point, your term was 2 years. Then we had another president after you, and now I'm on my 3rd president that I'm serving as chair of the board for. But now we just hit 190 members, right? From 26 to 190 members, and a few more dollars than just a handful in the bank account, right?
Yes, sir.
And so, if you would, I don't want to talk all about it. Talk a little bit about, that whole process.
So, like you mentioned, it was only a few dollars in the bank because I was the treasurer before I became the president. But so I dealt with the money pretty often. And we just try to grow, our organization. For me, I thought it was instrumental about reaching back out to you, some of our past leaders, just to get that history back involved, because I feel like you have to touch base with the past so you can know where you're going for the future.
Mm-hmm.
So that was one of the reasons why I reached back out and say, hey, I know we've encountered each other, and I was like, had a good spirit, and I'm like, yeah, well, let me reach out, see, how this thing work out, because I wanted a good team around me, and I think as far as my presidency, we had that, like there was collaboration, and I feel like with that collaboration, you're able to do great things.
Exactly.
So, and it's not just one person; it's a group, because if you got the right team members, you can make great things happen. So. That was huge for the direction of what we were looking to do moving forward, because, you hear a lot of the things that happened in the past, and sometimes they're not always great things, but I wanted to remove that stigma, so we can continue moving forward.
Yes.
I mean, our organization, the Realtist, what it stands for, it was solid for me.
Yes.
And it was one of the pillars of why I'm still into real estate today.
Yeah.
It was the fact of democracy in housing, fighting for those who don't even know that someone needs to be fighting, and in most cases in our communities, we don't value our community as much as we should.
Right.
So it was just like, you got to have the right people.
Yes. And
like me coming in, just to kind of go back just a little bit, it was when I first got licensed, I had an individual I ran across. I did a deal with Mr. Bob Lane. And this is really in his stomping grounds. So, he invited me to a couple different things.
Yes.
And I was probably licensed less than a year. And he was like, you want to get involved in this organization?
Yes.
And I kept coming. And I'm like, I don't see it. Yeah. Then he was like, because you ain't looking. And I'm like, well, I'm trying. Trying to figure out what's the purpose, what's the mission. And then he broke it to me like, hey, you get into the business. A lot of people get in this business and want to focus on the money. But it's more so the relationships,
that's right,
the communities that we're touching and impacting. Yeah. So, when I got that grasp, I was like, oh, okay, whatever. Regardless of whatever, we're going to make this thing happen. Yes. So it drew me closer to the organization and the purpose of why we needed to continue moving forward. So I want that foundation, that solid foundation that was built before us.
Yeah, you mentioned the legendary Bob Lane, right?
Yes.
His office was literally around the corner from where we sitting right now, and in Evanston, in Cincinnati, Ohio, and he was Mr. Realtist, right?
Yes.
And actually, we recently named our Realtist of the Year award after him, the Robert Bob Lane Realtist of the Year award, which I think is very appropriate.
It is.
And just to give a little background, the Realtist, right? The word is Realtist. Are members of the National Association of Real Estate Brokers. The National Association of Real Estate Brokers, also known as NAREB, N-A-R-E-B, was started back in 1947 when we weren't allowed to be realtors. And so 12 brokers from around the country met in Tampa, Florida. One of those from Cincinnati, Mr. Horace Sudduth, another legendary name in the city of Cincinnati, met in Tampa, Florida, and started the National Association of Real Estate Brokers back in 1947. So that organization still exists. There's about 110 chapters now across the country. Proud to say, Cincinnati now, with our extreme growth, is the 5th largest chapter in the country.
That's huge.
Right? And the largest chapter in our region, Region 8, which includes Ohio, Indiana, and Michigan. And again, I like to say that started, right, with not just us, but our whole core of leadership team that started back in 2020, because prior to that, it was on a different trajectory, we'll just say, right?
Exactly.
And so, as you mentioned, having a good team around you, everybody rowing in the same direction, nobody looking at this as a selfish opportunity that, they just want to take advantage of. It's the collective. And one of the things we said when we got started was, if you want to attract opportunities and members and people, you have to be attractive. And so we started with that premise of making the organization attractive, and the members just started coming. We didn't even have to go seeking out and, hunting for memberships. They started coming and showing up, and it was like, wow, opportunities came to us, right? We have a whole income opportunity, GCRA title, education, where we have an affiliate links, and those were brought to us. We didn't have to go hunt to those because people saw that, when you're attractive, you attract opportunities. And I think that's a main point, right, that people need to understand is that we always think, I got to go get it. And it's like, one of the folks I listen to, Jim Rohn, says, if you work harder on yourself than you do at your job, right, then things will start to happen for you, right? When you become attractive, things attract to you. And too many times, I think, we're not focused on making ourselves a better person or our organizations a better organization. We just trying to see what we can get, no matter who we are or what we are. And again, if we improve who we are and what we are, those things tend to come to you, right? So let's talk about what that and how that has transitioned even from out of Central presidency with GCRA. I'll let you talk about that evolution since that time.
So, to your point of attraction and alignment, like just being in line with a mission and a purpose. My mission is always to try to put things in a better position than when I came into it. So I never want to go in and try to do it for me because there's other people who are looking after me or who's looking up to me or looking to see what I do. And I want to be a great representation and a role model in a sense of allowing people to see that you can do it. So from that process of being president, I went to the fact of applying for a seat on the board of the Realtor Alliance. At first, I didn't even know that I even qualified to be on the board because in most cases, you see people that don't look like you. And then you see more managers and individuals that are in higher positions. But, when I looked at the criteria, I was like, I did this, I've done this. I can do this. So, I put my hat in the ring and surprisingly, it turned out that I got the seat. So, being on the board as I was there, I kept looking at, people asked if I wanted to be president. I never really have the aspirations to do so. But I feel like when you're aligned to do it, and I felt like I was led. So it's like, this is something that is going to be impactful to those who may come behind me. So it was like, so before then I became the treasurer. And while I was sitting in that treasurer's seat on the board, people were like, you should go for this. You should go for it. I'm like, let me talk to God, see if this is what the direction is. And I did so. I went into the room. It was one person running against me. And I was like, hey, what is meant to be will be. And I went in there, said what I was looking to do. And, here we are, a whole 2 years later, in a sense, now I'm becoming president. And of course, the position itself, I just want to make that organization also just as great as what we're doing on the Realtist side. Because there's just so much that needs to be done to make sure that we continue to have seats at the table.
That's right.
That's huge for me.
Right.
If I'm looking at what I can do moving forward, if no one else is going to do it, if I feel that I'm being led to do it, it's my time to do it so somebody else has that same opportunity.
Right. Well, that's amazing. And I want to make sure everybody caught the connection here is that this gentleman went from being a part of a real estate organization that was created because we weren't allowed to be realtors to now where he's going to be president of the Realtor Alliance of Greater Cincinnati, an organization, right, where he's going to be president of our local chapter of the Realtors, right? And so when you understand that connection and that growth from that, right, from being just a member of the Realtist, then serving as the treasurer and other positions, becoming president of the Realtist, and then transitioning and moving to the Realtors, and now being installed tomorrow from the day that we're recording this, being installed tomorrow as the next president of the Realtor Alliance of Greater Cincinnati is a huge story, which is why I wanted him to be here for this, right, first, pilot, inaugural, premiere episode, whatever is appropriate to call it, because his installation is tomorrow, and that transition, is a huge transition. And so just wanted to, show that love and respect to what you've been able to accomplish over the last just 5 years. When you think about, well, this is year 6 now, right? Because 2020 to now, you're going into that presidency is huge. And so what that also has encouraged is many Realtist members, current Realtist members, who are now engaged in the Realtors committees and members on the committees to now possibly move up into becoming a director, and who knows where that will go, and having that influence, because the reality is there haven't been too many of us engaged in the Realtor organization, just because, for various reasons, but many times we didn't see a place for us, or we were like, why? It's not making me any money. But it's really like influencing and having input on the industry here in the city that can actually have a greater impact to the whole industry, but even to our folks in the industry.
I think most people don't understand the purpose of why to be involved.
Right.
So to see someone who look like you that is involved, and you connect with them, you get an understanding, then it starts making their mind spiral into doing or trying to be better as well, because it's like you don't know. And for me, being the change you want to see. So, I mean, that was always something I was told when I was younger. Yeah. And I live by it today, because if you don't see it, you got to be it.
That's right.
So,
That's right.
it's going to take some work.
Yeah.
Somebody got to do the work.
Yeah.
Foundation ain't laid by itself.
That's right.
So somebody got to go pour and do the work. So, somebody has to be that one to step forward. And as long as we're doing that, I think that's the mission and the purpose of what I want to do and what we should be doing as individuals.
Exactly. And I love that analogy of pouring the foundation, because guess what? Before you pour that concrete, you got to dig out the dirt, which means you got to get in the dirt. Yeah. You got to get dirty. You got to sweat, dig out that dirt, to be able to get that foundation in the ground and pour that foundation for then the house to be built. And so when you talk about that, it's also understanding those dynamics of when you're the first one, or you haven't seen it, so you have to be it. It's not easy. And it can get dirty, right? It can get messy. But once it's done and you pour that foundation, then a whole house or whole structure can be built that then changes lives. People live in that house, people work in that building, people make money, people thrive, grow, and all of that simply because the foundation had to be laid first. So wanted to, just share that story, right? Our relationship, the growth from that, the last 5 years, to the audience. And hopefully there were some nuggets in there. There was quite a few nuggets in there. I hope people caught on to about, being attractive, improving yourself, work on yourself, and everything else will come to you, right? A magnet doesn't have to go get anything. Stuff comes to it, right? So, you doing that. And then also, if you don't see it, become it, right? Be it. And be willing to do the work and put in the time and effort to get there. And so congratulations to you.
Thank you.
The installation is tomorrow.
Yes.
We talked about the weather's going to be interesting. So hopefully, everything goes well. But hey, like you said, if you're the only one there, you're going to be there.
Yeah.
And again, that speaks to the same thing, is that You know, even if folks don't make it because they're scared of the weather or whatever the case may be, guess what? You're going to keep pushing through.
Yes, sir.
And I think that's what's gotten you to where you are. So
Thank you.
appreciate the time. Thank you guys for listening. Again, this is the first one. So, you know, look for more. I'm anticipating doing this on some frequency. Please let me know what you think. Give me input. Give me suggestions. I'm new to this, so, you know, let's make it happen. Let's have some conversations, again, about real estate, about business in general, about mentorship, about life in general, right? We're going to talk about all those different topics at various times because that's you know, life just comes together. Real estate happens to be my thing, but when you talk about business, mentorship, and life, that touches everybody. And real estate is a thing that touches every. You got to have somewhere to live.
Yes.
And gravity,
Yes.
this thing called gravity, keeps us stuck to a planet, which is real estate, right? And so, yeah, so that applies to everybody as well. So thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. And until next time.